Dakota Akede Dakota Jonah printed do October Qu'Appelle Kashna we Qu'Appelle Kashna we Apeto gde Qu'Appelle Kashna we Yopia dead unhipi. Today October arrived and it's a pretty good day. Fall. Ptuietu. Fall. Ptuietu. Ptuietu cha. Weekni umpi. When it's fall time, we do a lot of hunting and gathering. Ptuietu cha. Weekni umpi. Winter. Wonetu. Winter. Wonetu. Winter is also used as 1 year, especially in birth. De wonetu tonaksha. De wonetu tonaksha. How old are you? How many winters are you? Spring, wetu. Wana wetu cha. Maga gdipte. Wetu is spring. When spring comes, the geese come back. Wana wetu cha. Maga gdipte. Gdipte. Summer. Medoketu. Medoketu cha. We are woshpia. Ipi. Medoketu cha. We are woshpia pi. Gdip umpi. When it's summertime, the women go picking. Woshpia umpi. When it's summertime, they go picking. Warm. Kate. Wana peto gde nahakshi kate do. Today it's still nice and warm outside. Apeto gde nahakshi kate do. Cold. Sni. Wana de broketu. Usni aye. Frozen. Dasake. Hode wana chage dasake. Hode wana bade chage dasake. So now the lake ice is frozen. So now the lake ice is frozen. How? Well, we'll be saying some colors in Dakota language. Yellow, Z. Yellow, Z. Orange, Z-sha. Orange, Z-sha. Green, prejitro. Prejitro. Black, sapa. Black, sapa. Red, sha. Red, sha. Pink, Chassin, pink chassin, red, white, ska, white, ska, blue, trop, blue, trop, gray, Dakota, gray, Dakota, brown, gris, brown, gris, purple, chastain, purple, chastain, rainbow, wachmaki. Yes, I'm going to go through some words here, and there's some words are said that in a certain way that it means what I'm going to describe here as, like in maybe, okina, okine, okini, okini is the proper way. Child, chinche, chincha, chincha. It is hechitu. It is hechitu. Some, aurait, at, he, and another at, head. Make, carré, with, kchi, come here, deichi uo, hiyuo, night, haepi, half, hake, moon, haepiwi, tomorrow, achanaka, morning, ampa, last night, haepi hecta, ice, chare, windy, kateapa, snow is wahihe is snowing, snowing, rain, maraju, midnight, hanchoka, hanchoka. Blizzard, ichamana, ichamana. Ichamana tanka, blowing snow. Ichamana tanka is blowing snow. Summer, medoketu, medoketu, summer. Appear, henapcha, appear, henapcha.
Those children just henapad.
Henapche, henapche.
After the powwow.
The last one is henapche. And naku, naku. Cup, wiakpe, wiakpa, wiakpe. Fork, wichapche, wichapche. Plate, wakshicha, wakshicha. A bowl, wakshicha oshkokpa. Wakshicha oshkokpa. Knife, mina. Knife, mina. Spoon, kishka. Spoon, kishka. Within, my head. Within my head. Bed, ouija. Bed, ouija. Pillow, ipahi, ipahi. To wed, hignatron, hignatron. Birth, apetu tron, apetu tron. Pay, kajuju, kajuju. Always, ohana, ohana. How me talk epi? There care. Apa itu kan maki epi. Apit keze wachipi, ahana wachipi hede storiapi chimpi. Iche washichu waikte. Hello, my friends. Today I was asked to talk about the powwow or the wachipi. In the old days, I went to early powwows in the 40s, and actually they originated after a Sundance. The powwows were held inside the Sundance arena. That's why they call it a Bowery. It was made out of leaves, and after the Sundance was over, on Sundays they'd have a big powwow, and they celebrated. So we kind of took up the word celebration, And it was all known all over America here. We call our powwows the celebrations. Ours was called Fort Qu'Appelle Sioux Indian Celebration, which was held once a year. So the word celebration was used in the early days, and later on I hear some bands using wachipi, means dance, wachipi. So they say so certain reserve wachipi, they call it, which means dance. But our celebrations in the old days was interpreted from after a Sundance. They had had a good time, and they did giveaways. And one of the things they did was they gave names. They honored the ones that participated in a Sundance. They honored warriors and veterans, and they name giving, and even had ear piercing. So they gave away a lot of valuable things, and the most valuable I seen was a horse. And they dance around with a stick. So today, if you see somebody dancing with a stick, just from the bush, to cut a branch and dance with that stick, that means it's a horse. And when they start announcing, the Yapaha we had was the announcer. When he announced, he said, well, today, he said, there's a big honor. They're giving away this horse. So-and-so, you come up here and get this stick, which represents the horse, and you come to my tent or wherever, and you pick up this horse and you can take it home. And I always remember that because I was a little boy. We went to the Crooked Lake Agency, and one of the Sparvier people gave me a horse, and I was just a young guy, and I named the horse Pony because he was just a young pony, and we led him behind the wagon all the way home to Standing Buffalo. And I was so proud of this horse. I held the halter shank all the way. I didn't even fall asleep or anything. I made sure I didn't lose my horse all the way home. I brought him home. And that's some of the honors that we got a long time ago. In the latter years, they start springing up. I went to the first oil discovery celebration in Montana, and they had it outside in a big arena. They just used snow fence, and the people went in and started dancing. They don't have grand entries. They listen to the Yapaha, which is the announcer. He yells out and he says, get ready now. We're going to dance here. Well, now it's getting dinner time, and by 1 o'clock, he says, we're going to be dancing, so I'll come. And everybody listened. They brought their drums. They sat down. The dancers all walked in. They start singing the early songs, and mostly men all danced in the inside. When I started experiencing or watching powwow, the women didn't dance with the men. They danced on the outside. They just stood in one place and got up and danced. And when the song was over, they sat down and the men did the circle. Only the warriors or the men danced in the middle. It wasn't until about 1951 or 52, the Crow Indians women started dancing amongst the men. They used shawls, moccasins, nice colored dresses, hair pieces, and scarves, and then they danced with the men all around. So gradually the women started dancing. They used shawls, and they danced. They didn't dance fancy or anything. They just kind of like walked around. But the songs were all medium beat. And everybody participated, young and old. And these were all the celebrations. And to me, the powwow is a celebration. It's to have a good time, and people come from all over the country, far south, north, east, west, and they all come and gather at a powwow, and they all enjoy themselves. And the committee worked all winter raising money. They had winter powwows, and they had picked a committee with their young children, and the children were the ones that were honored. And the children were given names, so when they sang, the singers would sing for a certain person or a youth. The parents would get up and all the relatives would back them up and dance in this honor of this child. And then they all gave money, but who did they give it to? The odd relative or a odd visitor, but most of the time they donated to the powwow committee. So the secretary would pick up the money, record it, and when they had a meeting, he'd make a speech and say, well, we had a powwow, and here's what happened. We gathered $500 in donations. So from there on, I know for sure all the Dakota bands pretty well worked the same way. They all had committees that way, and they named the kids, and that's how they made their collections. And we were lucky. We lived in a valley, and there was a lot of tourists coming around. So what we did is we put a gate, and we charged at the gate. Yeah, until they said that we shouldn't be doing that. It was, they shouldn't be taxed. So we quit doing that in about 56 or 57 when, I don't know, police or somebody come and told my uncle that we shouldn't be taxing only white people. And so this is what happened anyway, so we quit. But anyway, that's how we got our money. And we only had one adult special, men's senior adult dancing contest, and we had one big trophy that was donated, I always remember, by CKCK. And this every year trophy was given to the champion dancers. And I remember one year, the first year I think was Robin Ryder, Alec Nanipush, a young guy from Rocky Boy, Montana won it. And then from Montana there was a young guy that won it from there. I think he was a Red Eagle or Greyhawk. And then again we had one from I think from the 48th the area, or the I know Virgil Chase won it once. So like that, I remember. These were all the winners that we had, and the prize money was $300 first place. Second was $2 and $100. And that's how the prizes were. And the women were the same way. They just danced around until they started getting fancy there in the later 50s. They started putting steps into their dancing, and I think that's where the fancy shawl was created. So like all them were dances, were competitions. We had a little bit for kids. We give day money to all the little ones and stuff like that. And all the powwows, I don't think we paid out over $1,000. So that's how the powwows went on. Actually, they never used to pay the drums. The only way drums got paid was if somebody was giving away, and they asked a drum to sing for them, for their child. they gave money to them. And sometimes they gave $10, $15, there was a lot of money one time, to every drum that came by. So there's the people that gave away were paying drums. And I never seen, I guess there was specials. There was men's specials and women's specials, and that took part from each families. And but otherwise, we had no trouble. We had only 1 or 2 security. Now we have to have about 20 due to the alcohol and drugs. And the gates, we had to have everything strict. Today, long time ago, it was still respected, and then all of a sudden it started getting worse. So we picked up the ideas from the States there. They had police at the gate checking everybody, so we had to do that. And check around the camps, make sure there was no parties, and some elderly people were complaining that some younger people were partying all night in a tent, so we had to go there and take away their liquor if they had any, and cool them off or send them to bed. We had curfews. Nowadays there's no curfews. But I think once again it's going to have to be curfew as soon as the power is over at midnight or whatever. The curfew should be on. Everybody should be off the area. And if they want to dance, round dance or kahominy, they were sent out of the village to go and dance that summer. But I think that was a bad idea, because that's where the drugs and the alcohol were coming in. And people were throwing big parties out in their areas. So that had to be canceled. So now it's straight wachipi or celebrations. And Standing Buffalo held one of the biggest celebrations here in Western Canada. After we learned all the ideas from the United States, and we had a good Y'Apaha, as my uncle John Goodwill, who did a lot of work in the areas. He did a lot of announcing right around in the Montana, and did some work in Manitoba. 3 reserves anyway that I know of, 4. Birdtail, Sioux Valley, Chandupa, Portage. So where he went, we followed and danced over there. Because wherever he was announcing, a lot of people come there and to participate. And he was a very good speaker in Dakota. And he knew a lot of people. He went to residential school. And he got to know everybody around the country, so he was a very popular man until his elderly days. He couldn't travel too much, and a little bit of health problems, so he had to quit. And but today, powwows are very strong. There's a lot of money. The bands are rich. Some bands got oil payments, some got they got, pardon? Casinos, and some are getting land claim dollars. So they have a lot of money nowadays. Each powwow that I can figure out is between 1 to maybe 300,000 there, at least. Because when you figure out all the prizes, it'd be easy around $50,000. And then they got host drum now, and all the drum contests, that alone is 30,000. So you add that all on. So you're going to figure out at least 100,000 for everything in prize money alone. But some are really bigger, as I said, they go higher. And you're not counting the specials. The committee specials, the counselor specials, all that adds up. Because there's 1,000, 5, 4, 3, like that they give away. we use envelopes, put them on the floor, and pick a certain dancer, so they get picked to the end, and then they start picking like envelopes with money in them. So all that is you know. It's just like, it's a big giveaway. That's the kind of giveaway it is today, you know. Besides some of the name giving and honoring, there's people still give away on all those. I do. I was pretty well on a committee for years, and part as an elder, and just the last few years I wasn't, but I still did a giveaway for my friends from the States that came up and sing. I honored them, and I did a giveaway for them. I paid a drum that sang the honor songs and stuff like that. Well, that's the way it goes. And nowadays they have a contest using ballots and everything. In my early days, the judge would go up and pick you. He'd pick you right off the floor and put you in the finals on Sunday. So that's the way they do it, eh? And then on Sunday they pick 5 good judges, say. And one will pick first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So there's one person appointed, so he'd go out there and watch the men. He'd pick one man for the first, and that guy would go for the second, third, fourth, just like they do in some specials. Well, that's the way the contests were run. And today they use ballots. You got to dance every session. And the reason for that is because some guys dance on Friday, and when you're picked, they didn't dance all week. They only danced Sunday night for the finals. They didn't have to dance anymore. So that's why they went into the ballots. So you have to dance all the grand entries, and they never had a grand entry, so now they do. So now we have grand entries. They're taking numbers. Everything is tabulated. Everything is the point system now. So you take that. They even do roll calls. They sing a song and they take numbers right off on with paper. A couple guys run out with this kind, and they take numbers and all around there, and they give them 25 points or so, and they add it into your number. And if you're not there, well, you're losing all those special points. So when they call for intertribals and you're not dancing, you're just there for the prizes, well, you're going to lose money because you gotta show that you're enjoying yourself participating. So in the early days, some of us danced for 2 or 3 hours before we even quit. But that's the way it is, because and I enjoyed it because I went over there to dance. I might as well dance, you know, and make friends and start visiting more or less while you're going around. You see guys talking and laughing while after visiting. Otherwise, you can dance alone and dance your own style or whatever you want. But those are the things. But one thing I noticed today, a lot of drums. I have nothing against the drummers. They're good. There's a lot of them singing nowadays, and they got good speakers. It's loud. But when it's time for the special dances, I explained it one time in Swift Current, but then they didn't really follow it afterwards. But if you go to a powwow somewhere, you're a men's traditional. You're like a certain beat. And that's how they do it further in the States. They know the beats. So you got to stick to that medium, slow beat. That's where you men can put out your steps. And so is the chicken dance. Chicken dance, there's a lot of beautiful chicken dancers I've seen. But how are you going to show your steps when it's 100 miles an hour? You can't. That's not the way it should be. It should be just right so you can see some of these guys dance and they put all their shoulders and arms into it. and their steps, and they have time to do that. They're not jigging. This is not jigging, So let's lower the beat for the chicken dancers, the traditional, the women's traditional. Ladies fancy, they like fast songs, and so is the men's fancy. That's fast songs. But jingle, certain beat. Not slow, but not too fast, but medium. That'd be a nice jingle dress song. So those are all what they should be reminded. And it's up to the Yapahas to say, well, this is men's traditional. Let's have a slow war song or something. So they can sing it just right, and that's when the men, and if they use words, sometimes it really means a lot to the singing. It gets into their heart. Most of the songs comes and hit their heart. But if this song is 100 miles an hour, it's not going to hit your heart. So that's the way it is. Because a lot of people, the dancers all there can dance if the song hits their heart. And it's something that I experienced, and I'm telling everybody that this is the way it is. And I tell my family, I got a lot of dancers. We have over 75 dancers on Standing Buffalo. So if they all danced at one time on Standing Buffalo, it'd be nice, but we don't allow our own dancers to dance at our contests. So you don't see them. But they're all watching all around, walking and visiting and having fun because they don't have to dance. But we have over 75. We got a lot of men dancers. We got a lot of kids coming up, dancers. We got women jingle, women's fancy. We got women's traditional in different ages. So if you put them all out there, there's a lot of us. I say us, but I'm not going to dance, but I can stand in the middle. But anyway, that's the way it is, and it's today is the difference is it's contest power. Time to contest, they say someplace down south, or contest time. And you're there to compete with other people. One time it was a contest, recognized. In the old days, in the Sioux Valley, I went over there, wana de chupo, wana, wonchi pikte. We're going to have a contest to see what reserve has the best dancers, they say, So de chupo, come over here now and dance in these contests. So now the men's going to dance, so the men dance. And then from there they're picked, And I remember when I was a young guy, they picked one guy from Montana. Here he won. When he won, they said they picked this guy he has the most steps in a grass dance, they said. And the announcer was kind of adding on there. He said, this guy has about 50 steps, he said. So they made him dance by himself, and boy, I was just putting out. And but that's the way they used to do it, and it was fun. People were fun. They watched, they all clapping their hands, Nape kupo, so give them your hands. And then they even say clap, There's a word for that. But anyway, all that is powwow, but if you really want to go through it the way it originated, it's a whole different story. The way my grandfather put it, and we don't use them anymore. We don't honor the powwow the way it used to be, but in a sacred way, we have the special beginning of a powwow. We use our bustles. The crow belt bustles are honored in a sacred way with 4 songs and 4 men or sometimes 2 men, they have to do this belt dance first. And once they do this belt dance ceremony, then the powwow starts. Otherwise, they can't start. In a small community, my grandpa said, the guy, that lodge keeper, they said, we're going to have a powwow on Saturday. We're going to collect money for Christmas or New Year's. How? And we have to go around and invite the dancers. And I guess I should have mentioned it earlier, but the first thing they do at a powwow was the belt dance. But prior to that, the lodge keeper would go around and invite all the dancers to the powwow for the evening. And he'd also ask people to bring a pot of soup or something. He said, you bring some soup or something, so that people would have to get ready and bring a pot of soup, and all the dancers would say, oh, Tiksha, we're coming. But in order to make sure he comes, he'd look in their house, and if he sees a gun or something valuable, he'll take it and walk out. That's how things used to be. You can't do that today, you know, but in them days, he'd grab this guy's gun and walk out, and he'd put them all in his wagon and keep going. And then when he gets to the powwow lodge, he'd pile up all his weapons and pouches and whatever he collected. So they have this special song, and then when all the song is over, all the ones that are there would pick up their belongings, you know, their guns or whatever they had taken away. And if the guys that didn't make it, stuff were laying there, they'd give them away. They'd give them away right there, and that's the rules. You have to be there or you lose your possession of whatever you had. So they take it away, and then right away they'd tell the people that were all the belt dancers, the 4 belt dancers that we have here, we want you to get ready to start the belt dance. So they take their belts, and they're all wrapped in cloth, and they hang them all up there. So he said, we want to get ready to do them. So they take them down and they unveil them. They smudge them, and then they unveil them, and they lay them all down. These 4 crew belts, they call them. And the last one that really danced a long time ago with one was 2 men were from Carry the Kettle, was Reuben Ryder, and another old guy had one, a big crew belt. But anyway, they looked after them. So anyway, he said you lay them down, and when I was going to start, so now they singing. So when they kneel down, these men, 4 men all kneel down on one knee, and they sit there, and these guys would sing. And then they sing that these belts are sacred. The feathers are all sacred. So that's why you got to respect them today. You got to carry that on, you know. Koda kariya ye wakan ye koda kariya ye wakan ye koda kariya ye wakan ye. They say that 4 times. So that's when they say that, and then they start getting up and they sing the next song, and then they sing the next song. They charge it 4 times. They sing that charging song, so you honor these belts, but you have to charge them. And then that last hit, when it stops, you take them and you put them on. You tie them on, and then they sing the other one, kind of like this, and then it goes slow and goes like that. They sing that 4 times, and then the last one they sing is they circle around, and then they put and then they all sing, and that first guy comes there, he has this big wooden spoon. Well, they all charge it, and they go like this first. the fork stick guy goes first. This was my grandfather. That's why I carry that stick. I dance with a fork stick, and I charge that. The next guy with a spoon. The next guy, he had any kind of a weapon. And then one guy, last one with a feather fan. And they all go through, and 4 times we do that. And when you finish the last time, that guy with the spoon, he goes there and he said he hits that pail, and he picks up that pail, and he'd go to an elder sitting there, and he'd give him a spoon, and he makes him taste it. So he drinks that soup, and then the song ends, and drink it. When he finishes, they haul it back in the middle, and they sing this one finishing song, and they dance around again, and that's it. They do that ceremony. And once that's over, they start dancing powwow. So they tell the singers, well, now we're going to have 5 or 6 songs, and then we're going to have a lunch. So we're going to eat this food that they brought. People brought a lot of food. Fry bread and bannock and soups and stuff. Cake and whatever they were asked to make or could make. So they had that these special songs, and then they sang that supper song. I call it supper song, but I don't know what they call it otherwise. Qu'Appelle, the serving songs. So the servants are picked and they dance around, and then they take out these pails and they feed everybody. They feed half of it, say half. And then they start again. So now we're going to dance again. So they start singing. And what happens is, now we're going to sing and we're going to use the whistle, they said. Oh, they said. So now they start dancing. These guys start bringing out a good song. So the whistle man goes there and blow his whistle. Blow his eagle whistle, or his, usually they have these divers whistles down. They got big beaks, and he blows, and my grandfather said they only blow once. They blow once and then they dance around. He said they don't be blowing and blowing. He said they just blow once. He said, and they dance around, and then he comes back there, and when they're just about going to the end, he hits the drum like this with his bird, and he says, "Henano," he says, and he stops them. But he said if he doesn't stop them, they have to keep singing and singing, he said. But there's always a limit, he said. He knows when to come and stop them. So that's when they don't be blowing and blowing. He said they only blow once, he said. And today, I say, people are donating money and stuff for somebody to pay somebody to blow a whistle because somebody's sick and all that, but it's not for that. This whistle is to have a good time. The doing medicine stuff, you can't mix it. You're not mixing it with power. They're trying to mix it in, for healing and that. And some guys even talk, oh, this is a healing dance and all that. And yeah, it's good. It's to have fun and all that. But it has nothing to do with medicine. That's what I always tell everybody, it's medicine is another thing. It's done in sweat lodges and sun dances, but not at the powwow. This powwow is wachipi. Yoke picha wachipi. Have fun, they said, and dance, they said. So those are some of the stories I'd like to people to understand, and hopefully some changes will be made and be more enjoyable. Because there's a lot of arbors nowadays. They're really nice places to go and dance. They even sowed grass and all that a long time ago. We just jump around on whatever. What's that? Ibrusze.
Yeah.